Hello my friends, it's Danny, and today I'm showing you how to make a creamy asparagus soup that is 100% dairy-free and happens to be completely vegan. Now this is a lovely transitional recipe because it's highlighting asparagus, which is a bright, fresh spring ingredient. But the soup is warm and cozy, so it's gonna help us transition out of the tail end of winter. Plus, it could not be any easier to make. It's like pillowy soft. Delicious. So I start with 2 pounds of fresh asparagus, which is usually 2 bunches of asparagus. And ideally you want to look for an asparagus stalk that is medium in width. So not too thick and not super thin. Ultimately any asparagus would work, but I do find this to kind of be the happy medium. Then the next thing I do is I just trim the woody ends off the asparagus. So sometimes you can see this because the color of the asparagus will start to change at the bottom. So I just line them up and give it a chop and get rid of those woody bottoms. Then with the rest of the asparagus, I'm just gonna cut these into 1-inch pieces. I'm also gonna prepare 1 chopped onion, and the easiest way to cut your onion is to trim off the top of the onion, so the stem end, then slice your onion in half, peel off this papery skin, then make a few horizontal slices, and then come over the top with some vertical slices, and then you just bring the knife over the top and slice straight down, and easy peasy, you've got yourself a chopped onion. Easiest way to do it. I also need 2 cloves of garlic, roughly chopped, and 1 15-ounce can of cannellini beans. These are also known as white kidney beans, and I'm just gonna give those a rinse under some cold water. That just washes off any extra sodium so we can be in control of our ingredients. Other than that, I'm just gonna need a little bit of olive oil and some salt and pepper. Now that's all the prep work we need to do, so I'm gonna bring this over to the stove, and I've got a medium-sized pot that I have heating over a medium heat, and to that I'm adding 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Once the olive oil heats up, in goes the chopped onion with a pinch of kosher salt. Now that salt is gonna help to draw the liquid out of the onion, which is gonna help it cook a little bit faster. And what we're looking for is for the onion to turn translucent. If you notice that your onion is browning, just turn the heat down a little bit and or add a splash of water to the pan. Once the onions have arrived, then I'm going to add in my garlic, that asparagus that we prepped, the cannellini beans, and some low sodium veggie broth. So this is 4 cups of broth. Now you could also just use some cold filtered water if you wanted a really light, bright, clean tasting soup. The broth adds a little bit more depth, so it layers the flavor a little bit. So either one would work, it just depends what you're looking for. I'm gonna give it a little bit more salt and some black pepper, seasoning as we go. Then I'm gonna turn that heat up, let everything come up to a boil, reduce the heat, bring it down to a simmer, pop on a lid and let it go for about 10 to 12 minutes. Really all we're looking to happen here is for that asparagus to soften and become fork tender. Now, the key to keeping this soup vegan and dairy free is the cannellini beans, because once we blend this soup up, the beans are what's gonna make everything rich and creamy. So it's quite remarkable and rather delicious. And just a little FYI, you could easily take this exact recipe base and swap it out for another seasonal vegetable. So you could make a spinach soup, you could do a watercress soup, or even a baby pea soup. All 3 of those would be delicious. Now, once the soup has cooled a bit and I'm ready to blend it up, I like to do this in my Vitamix, so I do it in a blender. You could also use an immersion blender if you wanted to, a hand blender, and do it right in the pot at the stove. Both techniques work perfectly well, so do whichever one you prefer. If you're using a blender like I am, make sure that you don't fill it more than about halfway up, because the soup is still warm and we don't want any of that heat to create pressure that's going to make the soup pop out of the blender. So I go about halfway up, keep the lid slightly ajar, and then just turn it on and slowly rev it up until it gets nice and rich and creamy and it has this like velvety-like texture. Then what I do is I transfer the first batch out into a glass measuring cup, and then I take the rest out of the pot, get that in the blender, blend that up as well, and then I get everything back into my pot. Now from here, you could leave this on the stove, reheat it, and you have a meal ready to go. Or if you wanted to do this as a meal prep, you could just store it right into an airtight container, Pop this in the fridge and it will last you up to a week. It's a really great soup to make on the weekends, so you have it ready to go during the week. Now, you can certainly enjoy this soup just the way it is. It's got this beautiful, rich, bright green color, and those cannellini beans also add a nice bit of protein to the soup to really round out the meal. But if you wanted to just make it look absolutely beautiful, what I love to do is add some fresh steamed asparagus over the top, a drizzle of coconut milk, a little bit of fresh parsley, and then some black pepper. So simple, so delicious, and so very, very satisfying. Creamy, delicious. I cannot wait for y'all to give this recipe a try. When you do, please snap a picture and tag me on Instagram and on Facebook so I can see all the clean and deliciousness you're whipping up in your very own kitchens. And my dear friend, if you have not already, please take a moment to subscribe, like, and share this video with anybody else you know who wants to make healthy eating easy. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Dani Spies, and I'll see you back here next time with some more clean and deliciousness. Cheers! So from here, I shut the heat off, right? So from here, I take the lid off, ready, boom. So from here, I shut the heat off, booyah. So from here, I shut the heat off, I take the, nope, here we go, we'll do that one more time. We're having fun today, aren't we? Okay.